So can you see that okay?
I can.
Perfect. I'm going to assume that that's all working then. So yeah, thanks so much to Healthwatch for inviting me along to talk today, and thanks to all of you for um, coming along to this session to find out more about Parkinson's and about the support that's available in our area. I'm going to talk you through some of the kind of key information about Parkinson's, some ways that you can support people, and more about how Parkinson's UK can support you as well. If you see me kind of looking down, it's because I've got some notes going on, and I've also got a timer going on as well, just so I don't sort of, go on and suddenly realize we're out of time. So yeah, it's not that I'm, checking my emails in the background. I'm just reminding myself what I'm saying. So yeah, my name is Kirsty McDowell, and I'm an area development manager with Parkinson's UK. I cover half of the Northeast region, including Northumberland, so it's really lovely to be here today. And obviously my contact details are there on the screen. If you do want to get in touch after this, you'll have those from the presentation. If anyone would like to introduce yourselves in the chat, say anything about kind of why you're here today or what you're hoping to hear about, then that would be yeah, lovely to know. Obviously, you don't have to share, because I appreciate you might want to, kind of keep yourself a little bit more private than that. But yeah, if anyone does want to share, then that would be lovely. I can't see the chat, so Helen, I'll leave that to you to have a look and let me know if there's anything pops up in there. In the meantime, I'll just introduce Parkinson's UK. So we're the biggest Parkinson's charity in the country, and we want to support everyone with Parkinson's, as well as everyone who supports those people. So families, friends, employers, also health professionals who work with Parkinson's. We carry out a lot of research to find better treatments and hopefully ultimately a cure for Parkinson's. But in the meantime, we're here for support, advice, information, and anything else really that helps those who are affected by Parkinson's in any way. I'll pause there so that Helen can let me know if there's anything appeared in the chat.
So far, Kirsty, I'm someone who is interested in advice or support relating to oral health and mouth care for people with Parkinson's.
Oh, okay, interesting. We probably won't get into the specifics of that today, but do feel free to contact me afterwards, and I can try and point you in the right direction for some more information about that. So yeah, that's a really interesting thing to find out a little bit more about, definitely. So I wanted to give you a little overview of Parkinson's. Don't worry if you can't read all of the writing in the image on the right, but this is the Parkinson's iceberg, and it's just to give you an idea of the fact that Parkinson's is a very complex condition. Often people think, Parkinson's is about shaking, about a tremor, but there is so much more to it than that. And often the Parkinson's symptoms that you can see are, like with the iceberg, they're a minority of what's going on for someone. And actually, there's lots and lots of other invisible symptoms that they might be experiencing, which are hidden below the surface. We say there are over 40 symptoms of Parkinson's, but don't worry, not everyone gets all of those 40 symptoms. It's absolutely not, not the case. But it is a little bit of a sort of pick and mix kind of situation. Different people get different symptoms, and at different times. They can come on in a different order for different individuals as well. And some people might go years and years with Parkinson's diagnosis before having many symptoms that impact them too much at all. So we've got on the left kind of the main movement symptoms, which you might notice in people. So obviously the tremor, the slowness of movement as well, and also muscle stiffness or rigidity is very common in Parkinson's. Some of the others, if you can't read them on the right-hand side, some of those invisible ones, loss of smell, hallucinations even, bladder problems, difficulty sleeping, things like problems with balance, falls, anxiety and depression can affect people with Parkinson's as well. And it's really important to note that not everyone with Parkinson's has a tremor. So not only might they have other symptoms, they might not have a tremor at all. And sometimes people get very frustrated because people say to them, oh, but you can't have Parkinson's, you're not shaking. But only about 70% of people do have a tremor when they're diagnosed. And actually for lots of people who do, that can often be very well controlled with the medication. So you might not be able to see the impact of that tremor at all. And Parkinson's is the fastest growing neurological condition in the world. Around 153,000 people in the UK have Parkinson's, and that number is going up all the time. The main reason for that growth is the aging population. So people can get Parkinson's at any age. There have even been examples of children having Parkinson's, but it does get more common as people get older. So with an aging population, we will have more cases of Parkinson's. In Northumberland, we estimate that there are around 1,000 people living with Parkinson's, so it is a sizable number. And it occurs in all ethnic groups, but it does affect slightly more men than women. So I wanted to come on and sort of talk a little bit about the impact of Parkinson's on people, because I think it's one thing kind of talking about symptoms, but actually what does that mean for living life with Parkinson's? And I'm going to play you a video, and we're going to hear from Matt, who was diagnosed in 2021. Before I push play, I'll just see, Helen, whether there have been any other introductions or comments in the chat before we move on.
Someone who is working with patients who have both Parkinson's and dementia, and another occupational therapist working with older people with Parkinson's and severe risk of falls.
Oh, welcome. And yeah, it's great to have you here. I haven't got a lot in this presentation actually about the specific support that we have for professionals, but we do have the Parkinson's Excellence Network. So if I remember, I'll pop something in about that at the end, but otherwise, obviously do contact me afterwards and I can connect you with the Excellence Network aimed at health professionals. So fingers crossed the tech works. I will play you Matt's Parkinson's journey.
It's okay to feel rubbish, it's okay to feel depressed and angry, but it's not a life sentence. There is, hope. I'm Matt, I've got Parkinson's. I've had it for 6 years at least, but I've been diagnosed for 3. I was 43 years old when I was diagnosed. I was working as a psychotherapist. I'm now also a peer support worker in a drugs charity. The symptoms affected my work. It was not too much at first. I realised looking back on it that I kind of planned my work day to kind of cope with fatigue without realising that's what I was doing. I try and make sure I get a nap and I have to plan my days because it's one thing that I can be okay for working and get through the day quite well still. I then need to have time to kind of recover and recuperate. Luckily, I sit down for a job as a psychotherapist, so I'm not on my feet all the time. Equally, I need to get some exercise, I need to keep myself limber and not so stiff, so that's a challenge as well. I cope with my symptoms throughout the day by planning breaks, by doing, as I did before, some stretches or vigorous movements to kind of cope with the cramp in my arm. Through my work, I applied for the Access to Work scheme, I think it's called, and I've got some kind of special, chairs and computer aids and things like that. I've recently been given a grant to develop it into a more personal kind of comic. My intention is, and what I'm experimenting with, is getting rid of the kind of digital aids that get rid of my tremor and make my writing the right size and kind of make the symptoms part of the art. I didn't realise how strong I was, really, but you just have to keep going, don't you? And, some good can come from it.
So obviously that's just one person's little kind of snippet of their experience, but I don't know whether that kind of raised any thoughts or questions from anyone. You're welcome to unmute if you want to comment, or obviously you can pop things in the chat. Any thoughts on there? Anything unexpected or perhaps expected from that? I think to me it's really interesting how, you know, he talks about how he didn't realize how much he was sort of adapting his day to cope with his Parkinson's. You know, I think you often kind of get, you know, things build around you, don't they? And you kind of push on and keep going, and then only looking back you realize just how much you've been adapting. Yes, if there's no comments in the chat on that one, Helen, at the moment.
Not on that one. Oh, there's one comment, quite profound, always impactful when you hear patient stories. Someone else introducing themselves previously, sort of working with Parkinson's and end-of-life patients. So there's obviously quite a few professionals, you know, sort of on the call who work with people with Parkinson's. Yeah, and another person that supports people with dementia as well.
Oh, well, welcome to you all. And yeah, I think it is, as you say, always impactful to hear from someone with the condition. I'm going to play one more video and just give a slightly different perspective. I've just thought, actually, I don't know if it's going to come up. I might have to stop my slideshow. Let me just see if it comes up. No. 1 second. Okay, so this is going to be Caroline's story, who's a carer for her husband who lives with Parkinson's.
When Tim was first diagnosed, I don't know how he felt. He was probably quite shocked, but I was relieved in one way that we knew what it was, and having had no experience of anybody with Parkinson's, it didn't upset me too much. Hi, my name is Caroline. I'm 63 years old, and I care for my husband Tim, who has been living with Parkinson's for 15 years now. Tim's experiences daily can vary from hour to hour. He can get up in the morning and be absolutely fine, able to dress himself, wash himself. Other days he's not able to do anything and I have to do it for him. A typical day for Tim and I is there is no typical day. Some days he will have his first medication at 7 o'clock and be up, ready to go for the day. Other days he will stay in bed till 1 o'clock. My role as Tim's carer is a tale of two halves. On the one side, it is the hardest thing I've ever done. It is isolating, it's lonely. I work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is really tough. On the other side, it's really rewarding. We get to spend quality time together. We now enjoy the little things in life that before we didn't think about. We can go for a walk and look up and the sky is blue and the birds are singing and it's a joyful day. Any advice or tips I would give to somebody caring for their loved ones or a mother and father with Parkinson's is reach out for support. I am the world's worst at asking for help, and it has got me into trouble in quite a few instances. There are people around, there are organisations around that will support you, will listen to you and will help you.
I'm sorry, I had to let that run to the end because the Zoom controls are over the YouTube controls, so I couldn't pause it for the end of the video. But yeah, just to give you that idea of what it's like to be a partner of someone with Parkinson's. You know, we know that family members often do a lot to support their loved ones. And again, if you know any thoughts or questions arisen from that, do pop them in the chat or feel free to unmute yourselves. If there's nothing at the moment, Helen, and just shout up, Helen, if there is. You're welcome to interrupt me if someone's popped something in. I know sometimes people say put things in the chat and you're like, God, I'm typing, but it takes a while. So. Oh, going back through. So I just want to say a little bit about communication and Parkinson's, because communication is a real issue for a lot of people with the condition, and it's something that I think the wider public often don't appreciate. It's just what a challenge communication can be. So I think it can really help people when they're out and about, you know, accessing services, or just, you know, in the shops, on the bus, wherever. And really helpful if people understand a little bit more about the challenges they might have and some of the ways you can help them as well. So some of the common challenges that people have with Parkinson's and communication are on the screen now. And I think just to highlight a couple of those, the kind of mask-like expression is one that people with the condition talk about a lot and find that has a real impact. So people can have this blank facial expression, and they might feel like they're smiling, but that's not showing on their face. And obviously that has a real impact on people who are communicating with them, because if someone's, you know, looking at you blankly or not smiling, not apparently reacting to what you say, then that can, you know, make you not want to talk to them or think they're not enjoying that interaction. Sometimes it also makes people make judgments as well about them. Perhaps they're not understanding what they're saying, whereas actually the person is. It's just they can get very stiff facial muscles, so what their expression they're feeling isn't coming through on their face. And also that it can take people with Parkinson's longer to reply or to formulate something to say. One of our volunteers with Parkinson's was saying to me recently that it's tricky when she goes to the pub or out in a group of friends with people, because the conversation's happening and she thinks of something she wants to say, but by the time she actually manages to come out with it, the conversation's kind of moved on, and people look at her a bit like, okay, we're sort of finished that conversation. So it's just really useful to be aware of that, I think, and to give people that bit more time. You'll see on there as well also challenges around written communication, computers. The smartphone one, someone said to me the other day, her dad, who has quite a bad Parkinson's tremor now, really struggles to scan QR codes. And that's becoming completely ubiquitous. He couldn't park, or, you know, couldn't have paid for his parking by himself the other day, because the only way to like get to the parking thing was this QR code. And he was just shaking too much to, you know, to scan that. So it's just things that you might not think about really that can be challenging for people. But there are things you can do to help. So the biggest one, just giving people more time to respond. If you ask a question, wait for an answer. Particularly if you're on the phone, obviously it can be hard to see that someone's building up to talking. So just don't kind of jump in again. Sometimes it feels a bit uncomfortable leaving that pause, but just give them time to get that answer that's in their head to come out for you. Sometimes people might talk very quietly. It is okay to ask if they can speak a little louder. People don't always realise that they're talking so quietly. Often within couples, the first thing that happens is that the person with Parkinson's is telling their partner they're going deaf, because they think they're talking at a normal volume, but now their partner can't hear them. But actually often it is that their voice has got a little bit quiet. Yeah, please try not to make assumptions based on people's facial expressions. Smile as well. If someone doesn't smile at you, you can think, oh, they're not very friendly, you know, but like I say, they might be feeling it. So make sure you smile back and do engage. Sometimes multitasking is really hard with Parkinson's, and that includes things like talking at the same time as walking. So if someone seems to be struggling with that, or is struggling with their walking, you might want to wait until you've stopped, reached where you're going, before you have that conversation. That can make life a bit easier. Try to talk to the person with the condition, not their partner or carer. I don't know if we've got any partners or carers on the call, but also try not to jump in. Sometimes I find I'm out at our groups and I ask someone with Parkinson's who has got some communication challenges a question, and their partner jumps in with the answer. And, you know, sometimes that's fine. Sometimes you need to get information out there quickly, but other times actually, you know, we will need to try and just be that bit more patient and give time for that person to try and talk for themselves. And try not to make assumptions, you know, like I say, that maybe they're disinterested or maybe they're not understanding what you're saying. Assumptions sometimes about people being drunk as well, if they are having balance problems and they may be slurring their speech as well. So just be that little bit more kind of considerate and aim for a little bit more understanding of what's going on for people is really helpful for the Parkinson's community. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the treatment for Parkinson's, but I think it is just important to highlight some of the options that are out there. There is no cure for Parkinson's, so treatments are about managing the symptoms that people have. And because Parkinson's is a very individual condition with, as I said, more than 40 different symptoms that affect people differently, then that means that the medication that people are going to be taking is also really individual, and it has to be tailored to them by a specialist in Parkinson's. It's not just a case of, right, you've got Parkinson's, take this, that'll sort it out. It's very individualized. There are lots and lots of different drugs, and people, like I say, take them, different quantities, different times, different ones of the drugs that are available. Physical activity is also incredibly important in managing symptoms. We now say that that's as important as someone's medication in managing their Parkinson's. And actually, we've pretty much got the evidence now as well to say that taking part in physical activity regularly can slow the progression of Parkinson's. And that's really important because nothing else that we have can slow the progression of Parkinson's. The medication, it just masks the symptoms. It doesn't, just change the rate at which the condition is going to deteriorate. So physical activity is incredibly important. And when I talk about the support and the local activities, there's quite a lot of that going on in Northumberland, which is fantastic. There's no one right or wrong physical activity to do. It's, whatever motivates someone, whatever gets them moving, whatever they enjoy doing, that's the right thing for them. There is a type of surgery called deep brain stimulation. You may have heard about it around Christmas time. There was a feature on the local news about a gentleman who had deep brain stimulation and had the latest technology upgrade. It's really is only for a minority of people with Parkinson's, and it involves inserting electrodes into the brain, and then you have a pack a little bit like a pacemaker, and that runs an electrical current to those and helps to control some of the symptoms. Like I say, it's only for a minority of people. It really depends on what pattern of symptoms you have. And obviously it is brain surgery. So, that comes with its own risks. And even everyone who could have that wouldn't want it because of that, the fact that it is invasive. But it is available. They carry it out in Newcastle as the centre for the North East. And then therapies are really important in Parkinson's, and it's great to hear that we've got some therapists on the call today, because it can make a huge impact. Those communication challenges I was speaking about, speech and language therapy can be so helpful for people with that at all different stages of the condition. Physiotherapy, really important, helping people get moving, helping with some of those balance, those falls problems. And occupational therapy as well, helping people be safe in their own homes, helping them with the challenges that they're experiencing and carrying out their day-to-day activities, and keeping them safe, keeping them independent, keeping them active. So really important in managing it. And how that happens really does depend from area to area. In some places, people get access when they're diagnosed, but then might have a gap until later on. In other places, it's more kind of wait and see, and then people are referred later on. So coming on to Parkinson's UK. When I was invited to give this talk, I was asked to give quite a focus to the support that is available to people with Parkinson's. And I'm really happy to do that, because one of the things we find as Parkinson's UK is that we struggle to reach everyone with Parkinson's. People just don't know about us and about our support. There's no central register for Parkinson's. We're not the NHS. So when someone's diagnosed, we can't be given their details. So if you are, working with people with Parkinson's, or people with Parkinson's, please ask if they're aware of Parkinson's UK. And if not, signpost them into the support, because we want to be here for everyone, and we don't want anyone to miss out because they don't know about us. For health professionals on the call as well, we're really happy to send you some leaflets or resources, anything that kind of helps you to give that information to your patients, so that they know that we exist. And like I say, we're not just for the person with Parkinson's either. We are here for their family, for their friends, for their employers, for health professionals themselves as well. Anyone who's affected by Parkinson's, we're here to support in any way we can. So one of our key support offers, if you like, is our helpline and our Parkinson's advisors. I think often people think, oh, helpline, you know, that's not for me. I'm not bad enough to need that. But it really is just an information line. Anyone can phone that. Again, you don't have to have Parkinson's yourself. If you want some information, if you've got a question, if you're looking for support, call the helpline. They are fantastic. Alongside the advisors on the helpline, we also have 13 Parkinson's local advisors across the North East and Yorkshire, and they can provide one-to-one support, again, on the phone, but localised, or they can do home visits as well, where that's helpful for people. Some of the things that they can help with, and our helpline can help with, are things like dealing with the day-to-day impact of Parkinson's, support in caring for someone. They can provide emotional support. They can give information on local services and activities in your area. They can help you navigate health and social care systems. They can help with benefits applications. You know, it really is, you know, a lot of different things that the advisors are there to help with. And we do as well have specialist advisors as well. So, for example, we have employment advisors and we have nurse specialists as well to widen that support we can give. So the helpline is fantastic first point of call, and if a local advisor would be helpful, they will pass you on to them. We also have lots of support happening in our local area. We have some really great activities in Northumberland, and we'd absolutely love more people to attend. Quite a lot of our activities in Northumberland are new, so we're still reaching people with that, and we'd love to have more people coming along. We're aware there are still gaps in Northumberland as well. So if you're in a particular area and you think, oh, there's a gap there and we could really do with something, please talk to me. Part of my role is to increase what is available to people based on the needs of the Parkinson's community. So really happy to have those conversations. To sort of summarise what we have got in Northumberland, so we have Parkinson's social activities in the form of our Parkinson's cafes. These are monthly drop-ins where people can go along for a cup of tea, a little bit of a chat with people, meet others affected by Parkinson's, and often pick up bits of information as well. We often find people at the cafes end up talking about, you know, anything and everything, not just Parkinson's. Sometimes people think, I don't want to go and talk to a group where they just sit and moan about their Parkinson's. It's really not like that. You know, people just, like I say, chat about anything. They do share tips about their Parkinson's, but often it's really inspiring, I find, when I go there, because people are talking about all the amazing things they actually are doing, which is great. So we have monthly cafes in Hexham, Morpeth and Bellingham. And there's also a similar sort of meeting in Alnwick called a support group meeting, but like I say, very similar sort of thing. Have a cuppa, have a chat. Then we also have a good range of physical activity and exercise classes around Northumberland. These are not all run by Parkinson's UK. Lots of them are run by external providers, but we help spread the word about them because obviously they're really valuable to our community. So the classes, and these are generally all weekly, and there are classes in Haltwhistle, Wooler, Alnwick, Berwick, Ashington and Morpeth. And there's also a weekly boxing session in Blythe, which is proving to be really popular and a little bit different for people. The other sessions tend to be a mixture of seated and standing exercise with different options. So people can stay seated if they need to, or stand if they feel able to for some of it. And the instructors are really good at tailoring things to people's activity levels and what's going to work for them. So really encourage anyone to give those a go. And I'll make sure that the details can go out with this after the presentation. There are also opportunities for people with Parkinson's to play golf in Bellingham, Felton and Morpeth, and that's through an organisation called Golf in Society, who are fantastic at providing different kind of adaptive forms of golf for people with Parkinson's, dementia and other neurological conditions. So whether people have played a lot of golf and maybe had to give it up because of their condition, or actually they've never tried it but they'd be quite interested to, Golf in Society will tailor a session for them. So they're not sort of regular diarised things, but you arrange that at a time that suits you. And we also, in the Northeast, alongside those local Northumberland groups, we have groups that are just kind of not location specific. So in particular, we have a working age Parkinson's group, and we have an LGBTQI plus group as well. And again, I'll try and make sure I include the details of those. Yeah, and we have as well a local lookup tool on our website, which is incredibly useful if you're wanting to check what's in a local area, what's near someone. Then do go on and have a look, put in a postcode, put in a town or a village, and it will bring up all the activities around that area. And one thing to be aware of is just how much courage it can take people to go to a Parkinson's activity for the first time. I heard recently, well, from 2 people who had gone to activities and had a really positive experience, but had struggled to make themselves do it. So one was a lady who said she got her husband to drive her there. She was then sitting in the car park saying, I don't know if I can go in. And, he said, look, I'll sit and wait here for 10 minutes. You go in, I'll sit for 10 minutes. If you're not out, I'll go home and I'll come back at the end and pick you up. But if it's absolutely awful, just make an excuse and come back within, straight away, and we'll just go. And so she did go in knowing she had that kind of get out, and she really enjoyed it. And she's been a regular at that group since, and she's got involved with lots of things, and it's fantastic. And similar, really, a gentleman who wanted to go to one of our cafes in County Durham, and he drove in and out of the car park 3 times before he actually parked and got out of the car and went into the group. So, it's a really big step for people to take. And if you work with people, and you can encourage them, please do. Our groups, as I say, they're lovely, and often going along to that one thing opens the door to so much more support and connections, and it's such a positive step, but it is a tricky step for people to take. Our website has, as you would imagine, a lot of information on it, not always the easiest to navigate. I often just resort to Googling parkinsons.org.uk and whatever it is I'm looking for, and it'll take it to you on our website, which is handy. But there's absolutely loads of information and advice on there. There's videos sharing personal stories, more of similar to the ones I shared, but also on specific treatments, on specific symptoms. We have a forum where people can interact with others affected by Parkinson's. We share research news and updates. There's information for friends and family. There's a big section for health professionals on there. Do check it out. As I mentioned, the Excellence Network is specifically for health professionals, and that's all on the website as well. We produce a lot of our information in information booklets as well, because we know not everyone's online. Not everyone, even if they are online, wants to read things online. It's sometimes nicer to have a paper copy there. So that we have those available, and you can order them either via the website. If you go to the shop, all of our information booklets are there. Pop them in your basket, check out, and it's free. It's even free delivery as long as you've only ordered the information resources. Or you can phone the helpline and ask for booklets to be posted out that way. So if you're working with people with Parkinson's, you might want a little stack of things, or individuals might want to order just, the ones that suit them. And they have information about treatments, about talking to health professionals, talking to children, about different benefits, different symptoms, ones about, supporting someone with Parkinson's, just loads and loads of different ones. We also have a range of information on our website for people who are newly diagnosed with Parkinson's. It can be really hard, as you would imagine, for people coming to terms with a diagnosis like that. So we do have content designed especially for those people, and also for their family members who are just coming to terms with that as well. There's information on the website. There's also like webinars and different online groups for people who are newly diagnosed. And we do have a range of exercise videos on the website as well. So if people don't want to get out to a group, or perhaps there's not a group local to them, or they just want to do something extra in between going to a class, we have exercise videos on there with all different types of exercise, different levels of intensity, so that people can pick what suits them. And recently we've added on our website as well our tech guide. So obviously apps and different pieces of equipment and technology are becoming more and more widespread, and people with Parkinson's were saying, well, you know, I've seen this, I've seen this, I've seen this, but you know, it's all got a cost attached. How will I know what's going to help me? So we now have our tech guide where people with Parkinson's test things out, test out an app, test out a little bit of equipment or whatever, and give reviews and feedback on there so that other people can look on and just see, oh, okay, you know, I've seen about this app. Will it be any use? What do others with Parkinson's say? And just get reviews on there. So that's really a really useful resource we've added there. We know that having Parkinson's can feel very isolating, and caring for someone with Parkinson's can also feel very isolating, especially if the condition is progressing and people are struggling to get out of the house more. And that's why we have telephone befriending, the Call Companion service, which provides a weekly phone call for either the person with Parkinson's or for a partner of someone with Parkinson's. The only restriction to be aware of on that is, unfortunately, you do have to be aged over 60 to access that service. And that's because we partner with another charity called Re-engage to deliver that. And we've had to put that age restriction on because of that charity's requirements. But most people with Parkinson's, particularly those who are starting to become very isolated, will be in that age category, and it's a fantastic service. There's trained volunteers. Again, people don't tend to talk about Parkinson's, they talk about anything and everything, but the feedback we get from there is amazing, and just people saying how much it helps them to be able to get things off their chest a bit and talk to someone who actually is a little bit more of a stranger. Yes, they get to know them over the weeks, but you can sometimes tell people things that you wouldn't say to your nearest and dearest, you know, because you don't want to worry them and things. So, you know, it can be a really great outlet for people, and just something different as well. You know, if your life has become quite restricted and your social group has become very small, it can just be really lovely to have that conversation with someone new. We offer personalised grants for Parkinson's. So I think these are one of our best kept secrets, and I'd love more people to know about them. And the grants can help with cost, as it says here, of home adaptations, equipment, or taking part in activities. And that can include the cost of getting to activities. So perhaps there's something great, but, you know, you'd need a taxi to get there. And how are you going to afford that? You know, our grants can help with these things. And they are means tested and they're based on the level of savings that someone has, but really worth looking into those grants. And then getting involved. Lots of people with Parkinson's find that getting involved really gives them a sense of purpose and a sense of belonging and a way to kind of stay active and meet others. Apologies, sudden tickle in my throat. Yeah, you know, so there are lots of different ways that people can get involved. Volunteering is a big one. Most of our volunteers, I would say, either have Parkinson's or a Parkinson's connection. Not that others can't volunteer, but just that it is a lovely way that actually people from that community often find they love to give back and help others and meet other people as well, and use their skills and experience. And people can also get involved with research. It's not all about taking new experimental drugs. A lot of it is about questionnaires, trying apps or devices, trying new types of physiotherapy, being interviewed about what it's like to be a carer or what it's like to have certain symptoms of Parkinson's. Lots of it can be done from home, and there is lots happens in the Northeast region as well, including, as you would imagine, a lot in Newcastle. And often research has funding to pay for transport costs as well for people to get there. And we also do a lot of campaigning, and we have a campaigns network people can join. And a lot of that is about campaigning to improve health services, and at the moment a lot about campaigning on benefits and the proposed benefits reforms, which, if they go through, well, could have a very negative effect on people with Parkinson's. So we are doing a lot of campaigning. People on the campaigns network get updates, they get links to things like petitions, letters to write to their MPs, and sometimes there are local campaigns that people want to get involved with as well around particular services. And fundraising, of course, you know, we are a charity, we love people to fundraise, but also we actually find that people with Parkinson's really love to do that fundraising because, again, it gives them that sense of purpose, giving something back. I know people who've done amazing things. One lady I was talking to last week is doing a wing walk to raise funds later this month. So she'll be strapped to the outside of a plane. I mean, it doesn't sound like my idea of fun, but she's really looking forward to it, really excited. And yeah, so, you know, that's another way that people can kind of just get active, really. So just to summarise in Northumberland, the weekly exercise opportunities and those social get-togethers, like I say, we know that there are gaps. It's a huge county. Public transport is obviously not always great, and people, you know, may not be able to travel distances for various reasons. So if you do have ideas, locations where you think it'd be good to do something else, you know, do talk to me. But we would really love to see more people at these activities as well. And like I say, some of them are very new, so actually we, you know, would love to get people through the door so that those activities can hopefully continue for years to come. And the final thing to flag up is just Parkinson's UK membership. It's totally free to join and it's open to anyone. You don't have to have Parkinson's. It's just a great way of staying up to date with what's happening in the world of Parkinson's and showing your support for the Parkinson's community. You can sign up online or you can phone the helpline. And when you join, you will get a little pin badge, which is quite nice. It has our P. You can see our little P symbol behind my head. So you get one of those on a pin badge. And you get our magazine and our research magazine as well, either online or through the post, whichever you prefer. And if you're in an organisation, one person could sign up, and then if you get particularly the printed copy of the magazine, you can, you know, pass that around, or the email version you can email on to colleagues. So it can just be a really good way of staying in touch. And that's it from me now. Over to you guys for questions. So I'm going to stop sharing so that I can see the chat as well. And Helen, I know you've been monitoring it to see if there's anything appeared, but please or comments in the chat, or you're welcome to unmute.
Thanks so much for that, Kirsty. That was excellent, and it's really great to hear about all the support that's available in Northumberland, and really great that you're thinking about extending support and, you know, sort of you're open to, you know, sort of other ideas. I know you mentioned about people getting in contact with you directly. Do we have direct contact details, or should they go through Healthwatch? How?
So my contact details are on the front slide of the presentation. So yeah, if it's about, you know, or what activity is in the area, or can we talk about setting something up here, please contact me. If it's about one-to-one support for yourself or a friend or a patient, please go through the helpline.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks for confirming that. And I think a few people had said previously about, you know, wanting to maybe getting in contact about, you know, sort of oral health. So would that be the helpline as well?
Yeah, absolutely. They're probably a good point of call for that. And do have a look on the website as well. If you've got questions about, you know, particular support locally on that, you're welcome to contact me too.
That's great. Thank you very much. So whilst we are waiting for any questions to come in, we've had a couple of thank yous for information. Someone obviously commenting that isolation can be a problem. So it's really great to hear about all the support available. Someone has asked if you can directly refer into your services.
Yes. So yeah, you can directly refer to your Parkinson's local advisor if you're a health professional. So if you want to drop me a message after this, and then I can introduce you to the local advisor for your area. We have one local advisor who covers the west of Northumberland, along with Newcastle, and I think she does Gateshead as well. And then we have another advisor who does North Northumberland and South East Northumberland, and she's actually leaving and we're just re-recruiting, but do get in touch and then I can connect you with that.
That's brilliant.
Advisor. And then, like I say, once you're in direct contact, you can just email them any referrals.
I should mention that obviously do pop any questions in the chat, but if people would prefer to ask a question, you can raise your hand and I'll invite you to unmute yourself. Very aware that, I don't think they're able to unmute themselves directly. So, one of the things I was going to ask, I guess, is about the dementia link, because there's obviously quite a lot of people on this call who work with people with Parkinson's and dementia. Is there some research going on into the link, or is there some sort of work going on? I guess a lot of the symptoms can be similar, can't they, as well? So I don't know if that kind of affects any, sort of diagnosis, or there's any kind of feedback that, you've had around that.
Yeah, so there is an association between Parkinson's and dementia, and unfortunately, a lot of people with Parkinson's will go on to develop some form of dementia. There is a particular type of dementia with Lewy bodies, which is particularly associated with Parkinson's. However, there's also the case that just because you have one neurological condition doesn't mean you can't get another. So actually, in the same way that lots of the general population will get something like Alzheimer's, then people with Parkinson's are also, it's also possible for them to develop that kind of dementia, even though it's not associated with the Parkinson's. But yeah, there definitely is an association between the two, and a lot of people with Parkinson's will get dementia symptoms. And as you mentioned, yeah, it can be hard to kind of separate the two actually, and when making that diagnosis. And again, this is where the Parkinson's specialist doctors and nurses are so important in helping to kind of unpick that and work out what's going on for people, because sometimes things like something as simple as having like a bladder infection in someone with Parkinson's can kind of really throw their symptoms into free fall, and they can go a bit nuts, stop the medication working as well and things. And then you think, oh gosh, is something else developing here? But actually it might just be as simple as that underlying infection. So yeah, it really is a complicated job to unpick it all.
Yeah. A couple of comments just saying, thanks again, very useful information. Looking forward to getting in contact with you, Kirsty, and someone who's saying that they wish they had known about this, brilliant support that was offered before her mum passed away. Obviously, wasn't kind of aware of that at the time, and yeah, very interesting information regarding befriending service and for the grants. Happy to share the information. So yeah, there's a few thanks coming in, and sort of really, really useful information. So
Yeah,
again,
yeah. And I'm really sorry to hear about the lady who, didn't know about the support for your mum. And I just hear that all too often, that people don't know the support's out there, and it's such a shame. So yeah, everyone here, if you can let everyone know about it, then that could make a real difference to someone's life.
So actually on that, I guess if not many people, well, obviously people do know about Parkinson's, but sort of how are Parkinson's working with, sort of primary and secondary care services to, sort of promote those? Because I would guess at the point of, diagnosis, it would be really helpful if patients were actually given, sort of information. Is there any work going on around that you know of?
Yes, yeah. So we've always worked closely with the neurologists and care of the elderly consultants who diagnose Parkinson's to encourage them to, as you say, give out that information at diagnosis. So a GP shouldn't be diagnosing Parkinson's, they should be referring to the specialists. And then, like I say, we work with them. However, we know that information doesn't always get given out. With the best will in the world, a neurologist might be diagnosing people in one clinic with multiple different conditions. They're not only seeing Parkinson's at that time. So, with the best will in the world, they don't always manage to pass that information on. We also know that some people react very differently when they're given a diagnosis, and some people want all the information they can get, and they'll really take on board anything they're offered, and other people, they do not want to know. It's all too much. It's a lot to process, and even if they are told about the support available, it's just not the right time for them. So we're always working with those consultants and with the Parkinson's specialist nurses as well, who we have fantastic nurses across our area in the Northeast to make sure that they're trying to reiterate those messages through someone's Parkinson's journey. But again, it can be tricky for them because they have limited time with people. But yeah, and we are developing now what we're calling Parkinson's Connect, where those health professionals will be able to refer someone basically at the click of a button with an app. so that they can do that kind of there and then. They can talk to someone. Would you like a phone call, or would you like to receive an email of information about the support available? And if they say yes, they can just, kind of do that straight away.
That's great. And what I was going to say, we've got people, sort of on the call that are, the likes of social prescribers, link workers, health professionals. So I guess the fact that the message is getting out there for them, is really good. Someone who is a social prescriber is asking that they would love to kind of attend a group just to kind of experience the setup and support and kind of give patients information about what to expect. Is that something that they could arrange with the, sort of local group?
Yeah, absolutely. If you contact your local group, and I'm sure they'd be absolutely delighted to have a social prescriber come along, because actually you're probably the same as us. Often people don't really know about the social prescribing services in their area and what you guys can offer. So it will be, kind of learning experience both ways, I would say. People will get to find out about what you can offer, and you can find out more about the local group. So yeah, absolutely. And particularly where we're setting up new things, we are trying to contact the social prescribers, and some of them are able to do really helpful things like, send out a text message to all of their patients, letting them know about a new activity that's starting. But obviously the social prescribing teams are set up very differently, so it does depend on, what setup they've got and things.
That's great, thank you. And someone is, that person's just kind of saying, it's basically often letting people know who we are and what we do. And someone who's said that someone that they work with has really benefited greatly from the Hexham group. So that's really fantastic to know.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah.
That's great. We'll leave it a little while longer just to see if there's anything further coming in. But yeah, I'd like to thank you so much, Kirsty, for coming along and talking to us today and outlining the support available. Just a reminder, we will be sending out the slides after the event and the link for the lookup as well, and anything else that Kirsty's kind of mentioned that might be useful, that will get sent on after this event. And we're also recording today, so if anyone has missed the start of it or missed because of technical issues, or they have colleagues who might benefit from, or friends, family, whatever, who might benefit from, sort of looking at the recording, we'll make sure that once that's set up, that comes out to you as well. So that's great. I don't think there's anything else coming along, just a few sort of thank yous. There's an offer there to offer training and support relating to oral health for professionals and volunteers. So anyone who's interested, Julie's put her email down there. Please do look in the chat. And yes, I'd like to thank everybody for coming along today as well who's participated, and I know it's a beautiful day outside, so I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and just keep an eye on our website, keep in touch with Health Watch. We do these sessions every month, so please do keep an eye on what we're doing, and if you're interested in signing up for future sessions, please do. We love to have you engaged with us, so